Righto, rudders. This week's task is to get a start on our rudders. This is going to be a bit of a process, and we're going to make some core flip templates of the rudders to make sure we get the right size. Alright, so I've got some rudder plans that we got off our Darren, and I believe they came from Rusty. This is his rudder plan, but we're going to modify it slightly, and how this is going to work is we're going to lay up a sheet of carbon, unis and 600 double bias into a plate around about 6mm thick. So make 6mm plate to plan form a rudder blade. So we need sheets the size of the rudder, and I'm going to make enough to make 3, and that way we'll always have a spare rudder blade available. So this is a rough template we made a long time ago to fit our boat, because our boat is actually flat on the hull here. A lot flatter than the original one, so we're going to need to remove this bit. We also need to make sure this bearing is almost entrapped in the top of it, like we've got here, where it's inset in, to make sure that we don't end up with any chance of lines and stuff. But we do need a gap. You can't not have a gap. But we've actually got a Delrin washer or some type of washer that goes on the top of the rudder stock here to stop it from binding, I guess you'd say. So yeah, so just cut it as it is. Cut it straight across, and then I'll work that out. I'll need to make a separate template of that. Cool, well, that's your job to set that up for me. Alright, so this is the original rudder blade that came off the plan. Now, ours can't be that like that, because it's going to protrude that far below the hull line of our boat. And given the sandbanks and everything we have here in our river system and potentially shallow draft, I've actually modified it down to this shape. So we're cutting a fair amount off the bottom of the rudder, and it's still hanging 3 centimeters below the hull line, but I don't want to go any deeper than that, just purely because I know that we're going to get caught up somewhere. So I'm going to transfer it onto the take 3. I'm going to transfer it onto the new plan to make sure that we still get that leading edge right, and then we'll bring it around here. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to glue it onto some core flip so we get a good template. I'll make it a bit bigger. And this here is the cutout for the rudder gland. That'll be it. Cool, let's stick that on. Righto, so I've glued that plan onto my core flip. I'm going to cut that on the bandsaw. That'll be the, well, effectively the final draft of the blade, and then at least I've got a permanent template. And then I've got to work out the shaft, how that's going to fit into it. So they'll do all that at a later date. First we're going to get our sheet laid up. So we've got our white board up there. We're going to lay up those 6 layers of glass and carbon and make our blade, and then we'll leave that for the day. Alright, this is the new shape of our rudder. This is going to come up a treat. Now, what I've done is where the rudder gland, just get under here, where the rudder gland actually comes down, I've allowed for a small cutout of the rudder to make sure that it's actually going to fit up and around this bearing tube. The shaft, actually denoted by those 2 marks there, is actually going to go straight up into there. That'll allow for plenty of movement around the actual rudder tube itself. And the most importantly is the distance between the propeller and the rudder is around about 10 centimeters when it's closed and about 30 centimeters when it's open. So we've got plenty of sort of room for movement here. The rudder actually spins on its axis there, and I think that's going to be great. So we're going to go up and get ready to laminate this sheet up. So Janet's getting all the cloth cut here. Got our laminate schedule, having fun. So we've masked up our space here, but we're going to actually make enough blade to make 3 rudder blades. 1, 2, and 3. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to keep that piece in storage in case we ever need to make a 3rd rudder, and it'll always be good to have a 3rd rudder made. In fact, I've got 3 shafts, and I'm thinking I might even make the 3rd rudder pretty soon after finishing the first 2, so that we've always got one in stock and can always call on it to be air freighted anywhere in the world. That's my plan. Do you think that's a good plan? Yeah, always good to have a spare. Probably should make 4. But we're not gonna. We're gonna only do 3.
We're gonna go around in circles.
Yeah. This lady, fair income, is an expert laminator. You know what you're doing, don't you? You have learnt the hard way. That's me working with no systems. It's all in my head. With Janet has procedures for everything. I love it. That's
you
good,
do,
yeah.
you just don't know how to document.
I just don't document anything, do I?
It's all in his head. He's actually starting to make lists these days, which is probably only took 5 years.
That's because I'm so old I can't remember what I bloody thought 5 minutes ago. I've got some 400-gram uni carbon here. Nice thick stuff. It's good for the RSI cutting unis. Alright, so you need 6 lengths of that.
I know. Well, now I've done one, I feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's not that hard to cut, you just got to grind through it.
I know, I'm just paranoid because it
Nothing like Kevlar. Kevlar's 3 times harder to cut because it gets furry as you cut it. So we're going to lay up onto a layer of peel ply. The problem is if I try to pour resin on it, it's all going to go to an odd shape. So I think I'm best to roll this sheet out or flatten it to get it dead flat like that, and then wet it out. What we're trying to avoid is having a shiny surface on it. That then has to be sanded, and we don't want to sand into the substrate because it's part of the structure of the rudder. And smooth it out, and then we'll roll our resin into it and just make sure we get a thorough wet out. Okay, so these rudder blades, they're the center blade. So that's actually a spine, unlike a lot of rudders where they're physically a foam, shaped foam item, and that means that the edges, or the leading and the trailing edges, are foam with just laminate on them. We're going to have a solid spine that basically is the leading and the trailing edge, and then it'll be laminated on. So these are a very, very strong way to make a rudder. It is a little bit more complicated. So we've got our laminate schedule is as follows: 1 layer of 600 double bias, 1 layer of 400-gram unidirectionals, 1 layer of 600 biax, which is basically 90-0, another layer of carbon, and then another layer of 600 double bias. Now that forms the spine, or the center blade, of our rudder. So the spine will look like this. So Jen will just turn it towards me. That there is the trailing edge, and then the leading edge is this edge here. So as you can see, if anything were to hit that, it's actually going to hit a solid spine rather than a soft foam edge. So it's a very, very strong way to make the rudder. Now how do we get the shape? The shape is actually formed by cutting. These leaves will be made of the same material. So all of the blade that we're making here is essentially, there's enough material to make these leaves, or these stations, that are then going to be glued along this center line. So they'll be raised up here like so, and then we'll fill with foam and shape down to those stations. And that's really, really important to get that strength. That wasn't so bad, was it?
No, it's good.
Yeah, good. Make sure it's fully wetted out. And then we've got peel ply on both sides. There was a bit of a technique. We could vacuum bag this, but really for this purpose it's not worth it. Demold our rudder blade, can we?
I reckon you should wait till tomorrow. But
No, there's no waiting because it's gone off. It's like 28 degrees in here today, so do you want to hold that while I go in there?
Yes, sir.
It's actually a reenactment because I walked in and got excited, ripped it off the mould, and Jenna goes, "Oh, you should have filmed that." She's getting there. Jenna's starting to realise the importance of filming everything. Wow, holy dooly.
You didn't turn it over though. Oh, watch the light. Oh, it's still shiny. Oh no, you got to pull the peel ply off, haven't you?
There's peel ply on the bottom, yeah. That is super rigid. Oh mate, look at that. I mean, look at that. That is the business, isn't it? Seriously, that's a perfect laminate. And that is as rigid as it comes, and it's dead flat. And look at that. Look at that.
Cool.
That is very, very exciting.
No, that's the underneath.
Not really sure I'm going to get that.
Over on the corner, maybe. Oh, that could be interesting.
Feels like you come integrated into it. Wow.
Did too good a job of that, don't we?
Yeah, too good a job.
Where's the where you thought there was a bubble?
No. Oh, no, there won't be a bubble. Oh, that is just, look at that.
No, I was meaning more that you could lift it with that.
Yeah, I might have to find the edge of the peel pie because I've done too good a job laminating this. But yeah, anyway, that's a success, and that is now
The edge.
Ooh.
Is it thick enough?
Maybe need to be a little bit thicker. We might need to do a couple more layers on each side. But anyway, that's absolutely superb. Peel ply down first. It's a very unusual practice to do that, but what it's given us is this raw surface, basically, you know, clean and ready to laminate on. But the problem is we had a gap in the peel ply, and I've over laminated over the top, so I've actually got to fish it out now. And here it is here. Oh. We had a gap in the peel ply, clearly. Yep.
That's a relief.
Yeah, look how smooth this is though. It's like perfect. All that resin's gone through the peel ply, but as a result, we've got a good sort of dry substrate. Alright, so we've got 3 blades out of that sheet. Perfect. Only just. And the bottom parts here we're going to use to make the leaves. So essentially I'm going to use this fine line masking tape, or a thinner masking tape, and I'll mask it out so I've got a really good guide to cut it with on the bandsaw, and then I'll come into working on the leaves here. But we're just sort of getting on with this project pretty quickly. Alright, I've marked out the shaft insert. This will be cut out here, and I'm actually anticipating gluing some of the spine up inside the shaft as well when this goes in place. If I can actually insert this in, and that'll glue and provide a bit of internal rigidity into the shaft itself. The shaft is about 6 or 7 mils thick, and if I can glue a part of the shaft up inside it, like a center spine, that'll certainly help with stability, and then the leaves will actually come and generate off that shaft as well, giving it further strength, and obviously I'll act as rudder tines. One day in, and I've got basically all of the components ready. I've just got to cut the actual foil shapes, and that's really important. That's cut out of the same blade, so that gives me those stations with which to be able to shape the foam onto the blade itself. So I'll go and cut them on the band. So I've got to cut 3 complete sets. I'm going to basically leave my spare set in my garage somewhere, so that you know, if ever we need another rudder, I can get Sam or Ellen to post it over to me if we're somewhere remote. If not, and I'm at home, I can rebuild it and take it with us. But I do not want to store another rudder on board. That's certainly not what I'm aiming to do. I just like to have a spare rudder. That's one of the things that if you do, I do break it off. But Al was here yesterday, and he said, "When was the last time you broke a rudder off a kayak?" I said, "Never." He said, "When was the last time you sunk a kayak?" I said, "Never." And he goes, "Exactly. Don't consider too much about the spare rudder." But it's certainly something I have had in the back of my mind. It's one of those pieces that would be very, very costly to have to fabricate or have one made and sent to us if we were in a remote location. So if I've got all the bits, I can knock one together on the boat quite easily without actually too much effort. And while I'm already cutting them out, like in a factory environment, I can basically smash it out and just store it, and it's all flat packed and basically easy to ship, easy to fabricate somewhere on the back of the boat while I'm having a beer. Now I'm going to have to leave this rudder project here for a later time, as there are so many other pressing things going on up in the boat. Occasionally, however, my focus can be drawn away to attempt to add some variety into my day, and this is a nice quick distraction with significant results. Now last week I had some brilliant feedback about our successful hatchery build on our rear lounge suite. This modification has turned out so well that the function of the hatches is even better than that of the cosmetics of the mod, and I'm so happy that I made that final decision to cut back into the lounge suite and start these hatches. Now you'll also notice that I've added a sheet of pre-made fiberglass here to make a dam at the front of the hatch to further enhance the function of the opening. The original cutout had left a void in this area and would create a void behind the actual lid itself. This too was laminated in, flow coated and gel coated to finish. Oh, I cannot imagine you'd spend all day doing 4 different things. It's only 5 o'clock, and God's sake, I've been going all bloody day on these drains. I've done a couple other things, but not much, I'll tell you. But anyway, I've got my face on. I'm going to leave it to glue overnight. I'll come in tomorrow. I'm actually going to laminate another 3 or 4 layers onto this to thicken it up. The drains I installed the other day were epoxied in place and a couple of layers of 400 double bias laminated in and around them, making them structurally sound enough to be able to walk on the hatches without fear of breaking the drains underneath. The trick here is to add a mixture of cotton flock and polyester mix into the channel to form a radius or curved bottom of the channel, and immediately laminate it in for a rounded base for ease of cleaning and soft feel. Your new apprentices arrived. I had an offer the other day and I'm not going to refuse it, because right now it's very important to take any help I can get, especially from family. And what was your offer?
I said, give me a job, put me to work, because I don't want to sit at home all day doing nothing when we got to get a boat on the water.
For how long?
Just a few months. Oh, I don't even know, just whenever.
Well, you're here till...
I'm here till 20th of January. Got a few things on in the interim, but we're moving to Tassie in January, so there's a expiry on the offer and I'm expecting the boat to be on the water, so...
There seems to be a time limit on every offer I get, but I'm happy to take anything I get. And
well, some of us have real jobs, Dad.
Righto, so I've put her to work. Ellen's come straight in, like day 2. She's been home for a day, unpacked the bags, and then she's straight into work. So keen, I love this. I love the work ethic that I raised my kids to have, but I think they've got them by them. They've got it by themselves. But I think they've got the work ethic on their own.
I just did a cut.
Ellen just saw me do a cut.
That's where he's going to edit.
I think they actually got their work ethic on their own. Janet and I think we've got a pretty reasonable work ethic, but these guys have a work ethic that's off the Richter. Right, so Ellen's in and I've given her a job and I tried to explain something and she says, I'm quantitative, Dad.
He just went, oh, just around here. And I was like, what is that in millimetres, Dad?
Right. What everyone needs to know is Ellen is a scientist. We've got Sam's an engineer, Ellen's a scientist, so everything has to be absolutely millimetre perfect and explained to the nth, and then Ellen just decides to do whatever she wants to do. So, what are we doing here?
Alrighty, so we are creating a template for the couch. We've got an upholsterer who's going to come in and do the material for the couches, but first we need to give him something to work off.
A template.
A template to work off. So we're going to put some foam here, stick some foam to a certain spot so that there's a piece of wood that runs along the outside that he can use to put over put the material over. Yep. So we're doing 20 mil from the top is the width, pretty much going to be the width of the piece of wood that's going to go across around the lounge suite, and 70 mil from the bottom is where the other piece of wood is going to come. So we're going to give him, I think, 3 sections, did we say that?
That's right, 3 sections,
So what I'm going to do is measure out 70 from the bottom, 20 from the top, stick some foam to the lounge suite so that we can put the wood on top and stick together our template.
We're going to make an MDF template with all these small sections, so we'll sort of go 1, 2, 3, all the way around to make a fairly, you know, concise template. And then I'm going to cut a marine ply template about 50 millimeters wide, and then we're going to build a frame. And we're going to do the frame. I offered to do that, and he's just going to populate it with the foam, because in the ilk of the way that we build this boat is I'm trying to do everything on my own, but I'm not an upholsterer. So we've got Pete coming in. We've got the material already, and it's pretty nice. It's like a grey leathery sort of look. And yeah, anyway, Ellen's into it, and we're going to get the hot glue gun out, and we're going to get gluing.
Gonna do some arts and crafts.
So I've had a successful morning, haven't we, darling?
Sure have.
Ellen's got a frame template for our lounge suite foam insert that we're going to have made up. We're going to make the timber base, and then now we're doing the actual base of it and marking out our access hatches on plastic. And we use double-sided tape to pin down the plastic, which gives us a perfect template. And then we're going to basically remove that and put that on some plywood and make a base for our cushion bases. So yeah, looking good. Good job. I've left her on alone for a while because she was getting annoyed with me because I was grumbling, wasn't I, darling?
You were getting all negative.
I wasn't negative, I was just getting annoyed because I couldn't quite get forward. What have you been up to?
Grumbling up there and
Well, that's how I work.
complaining that he's on his phone. I don't know. This is probably why it's never been done.
Oh, what are you doing?
Templates. This is the bedroom bench.
Yeah. So, what would you call it? I don't know, sideboard or something.
Yeah. Ooh. So we're going to put wood on this, so we need something to cut the wood out.
Yeah, it's a good
So
idea.
we're going to lay this on top of the wood when we cut it.
Yeah, on the vanity side here. And then, I'm going to need one up there too. That one's going to be a bit difficult because I haven't got the top on it yet. And then we've got one down the rear here in the stern cabin. Nice top here. This is all going to be Tasmanian oak. And Ellen said to me about an hour ago, what'd you say to me about wanting to stain?
Got it?
Wanting to lacquer?
I enjoy lacquering, so we're going to try and do that while I'm here.
Oh, so all the woodwork might get done. I've got to cut the wood and get all the shape, and then Ellen and I can be part of the woodwork team, eh? Cool. Might be getting to do some plumbing too while you're here.